Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. I have a really in-depth Gematria decode to share with you all in today's video, so we're going to jump straight into that. Grab a pen and some paper because you're going to want to take notes on what you're about to watch. Today's video is going to be packed with gems tying in so many connections between the Gematria and date numerology and the past price action in the charts from 2019 compared to today, which so far I'm seeing to be a splitting image of the two cycles side by side. So let's get into it. And if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with the Gematria, numerology, and astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. And a bunch of you probably watched my last video dedicated to March 14th and March 15th for the Ides of March and how I see that to be a significant date and a pivot for the market. But in my recent Red Pill podcast over on Patreon, I was sharing the significance of this full moon that happened 2 days ago on March 7th. It was a two-part decode of the Pisces symbolism, Pisces zodiac, and this full moon. And for those who inquired about the lunar astrology, it was a full moon in Virgo, hence why I didn't touch on the lunar astrology, moreover because I wanted to focus on the big date numerology and Gematria connections that I discovered. So one of the significant connections that I made was between March 7th and the actual Rosh Hashanah date, which is the Hebrew New Year, and that was the 16th of September. And you can see right here that this is a very important numerological connection, being 193 days, and that being the 44th prime number. And here's where it all comes connected to this solar eclipse, which we're approaching very soon on April 20th, and you can see that is 44 days from that date. So getting a lot of confluence here. This was definitely a big connection. And to add even more to it, March 7th was a Tuesday, which is Martes, the day of Mars, and we're in the month of March, which is Mars. And if we go by the Gematria, you can see that Mars equals 10 in Chaldean, and we're actually in the 10th week of this year. So a couple more connections, Mars equaling this 51, 15, and 57. It does tie us to the moon with the 51, 15, 57, of course, in different ciphers, but we just had a full moon, and this full moon giving you this 43 in Chaldean. And speaking of Mars, which is Aries, Aries spelled this way, you see that 43 tying this all together. So this Mars March, again connected to Pisces, this is very important. And this particular full moon, we're seeing what it did in the charts. As I teach you guys, we see a 5-day window before or after full moons is typically your bearish part of the microcycle, whilst your new moons, the 5 days before or after a new moon, is your bullish part of a microcycle. And thus far, the last new moon was the microcycle top, and we corrected down perfectly into this full moon. It's only March 9th, so we're 2 days out from this full moon energy. We're still seeing what it's doing to the markets, but the sell-off was pretty dramatic, and I'm going to be getting a little bit deeper into this in a moment, especially when I get into the charts. But you're seeing it all come to life. So speaking of the number 43 in this tie with Aries, we have Ides of March, which I shared in my last YouTube video, giving you that 43, and that'll be on the 15th. So I mentioned in my last video that March 14th and 15th, the day of the Ides of March, could be very important for the market, and how I wouldn't be surprised if we had a ritual, some sort of psyop happen on March 15th this year, just a couple weeks from today. And it will be the 11th week of the year when this happens. So you can see that right there, week 11, which is March 13th through 19th. So 11 being the master number, and I associate that 11 with a restart. And what I mean by that is regarding the energy or the change of direction in energy, power, and influence. So since March 14th is also the next third quarter moon, you could see that right here, March 14th, third quarter. And we've watched the past 4 months of first quarter and third quarter moons be out it was your pivotal points in price action. So they tend to play out as a pivot. And this has been what's happened since the last lunar eclipse in November. You guys probably remember the FTX ritual with Sam Bankman-Fried. That was on a lunar eclipse. And since then, we've been seeing these first quarter and third quarter moons tend to be the pivot for the market. Now, we're approaching this 14th, and I was just speaking before about the number 43. Well, the number 43 in Aries, or Ides of March, you see that 43, it's the 14th prime number. And when we consider the 14th of March, remember March is actually the first month in the calendrical system, making the 14th of March actually the 14th day of the true year. Now, this is all really coded in, and you guys might be calling March 14th Pi Day. Some consider it to be that. Of course, there's many iterations of that as well. You could consider the 314th day of the year Pi Day, but anywho, exoterically, you call March 14th the Pi Day, and want to show you really quickly how even this is coded in. So Pi Day, if you wanted to have fun with it, giving you that 15 in Chaldean, we could see that the standard date numerology is 15. Also, we're on a Tuesday for Pi Day, the day of Mars giving you that 15. And as well, we have, it's in the month of March, which March even equals 15, and you're 43, which we were talking about moments ago. So you're seeing how these numbers are coming up quite a bit. And between now and then, you know, a lot could happen in this market, but let's get into the charts. And I'm actually going to continue this decode, and I'm going to decode the current price action we're having in the crypto market with the Gematria, Numerology, Astrology to add even more depth and weight to what you're about to watch. So before we get into that, before we get into the TA, go ahead and give this video a like if you haven't already, and spread some love in the comment section. That's what we're all about. Quick side note, actually, pretty funny on the Dow Jones. This is March 7th. We had a big correction, big corrective candle on the Dow. And if you look right up here while I hover over this candle, you're going to see that the Dow closed on this full moon down 589 points. You guys have probably seen this 589 before if you're into XRP. So I'm not gonna get conspiratorial now, but I think that's pretty hilarious how this very important full moon that I've been talking about, we get it, and it's perfect. Perfect 589. So let's get into Bitcoin, and I want to show you a couple of significant things that I've decoded and found in the recent price action. We're seeing today market is definitely slipping to the downside. It's been lockstep with the indices. Indices are heading down, Bitcoin following, and if Bitcoin follows downwards, altcoins will follow downwards. It's just the way this market works. But I want to actually go back to the past into April and June of 2019, and you're going to see these two circles right here, and it's a very similar structure to what we're actually having today. I'm going to load up this chart over here, and this way I could just do side by sides and make it a lot easier actually. Let me delete this, and you could see what's happening. Okay. So we have a little bit of a high followed by a sell-off and then a higher high fake out, which returns us back to support on a back test. And that is pretty much what we've seen happen in 2 cycles before we hit top in the automatic rally. We could see a high, a pullback, a higher high, fake out, return back to support. And here the same thing, high, pullback, higher high, pull back to support, and then continuation. Now look at what's happening today. We have a high, pullback, higher high, return back to support, and now what comes next? Well, we could see these iterations in the past cycle, which I've been comparing us to in every single video for pretty much the last 5 months, last four to 5 months specifically. So here I have mapped out the solar eclipse, total solar eclipse of 2019. It happened on July 2nd, and we actually are coming up on our solar eclipse on April 20th. So we get to follow along this cycle, which thus far has been nearly identical. Now, these are W patterns. If anyone follows my work, or I'm sure it's very exoteric by now, these W patterns happen in trading. And what we're getting on these Ws is higher lows on the V. So you have your first V and your second V. Your second V has a higher low in the W. That's textbook. But one other thing you're getting is these false breakouts, these kind of bull traps in the neckline. And you could see that happening right here, and you could see that happening right here. So if you take from, and now I'm going to start to decode this a little bit more for you guys, from the pump into this upper trading range until the next breakout in both iterations of these. So this pump would be right here on April 2nd over, you're going to see it's about 36 days when we continue to the next stage. So let's look from this day right here of May 8th. And we have pretty much the same thing happening all over again. Actually, we could consider any of these dates in the time frame, but May 11th, excuse me, is when I want to start measurement. And I move over about 36 days, and then it takes me to a break of structure into the next leg up. You can see there's a similarity here. Over here, 36 days, and then we break out, and then this big green candle over 36 days, and then we break out, leading into this eclipse. Now, this doesn't surprise me at all, 36, because Bitcoin gives you 36, and as well, Ethereum gives you 36, and they are the duality of this entire market, and that's very important to take note of. Bitcoin being the artificial son of Satoshi Nakamoto, who is Saturn or Father Time, the father of the algorithm blockchain, and Ethereum is ether, which is the upper air that the gods breathe, the upper air for these final projects that'll be in this technological world we'll call transhumanism in the age of Aquarius. Bitcoin and Ethereum will run that show, as it has since the beginning. And what will be subordinate to them are the ISO 222 projects and anything tied back to those. Anywho, not going to go there right now because that would require an entire decode in and of itself. But I wanted to just show you those 36-day breakouts and how we were trapped in those ranges. And I can almost guarantee you, if there was a lot of YouTube action going on back here, when we started to return down to these supports, people had the similar energy of like, oh, it's the end, we're going to keel over and go to zero, or whatever the fuck people say. But this type of sentiment that comes into people, it's always showing up after corrections. And it's funny how everyone starts getting bullish when we're breaking out into these false breakouts. I've been telling people plenty of times to look at this not only structurally, not only technically, but also look at it esoterically. With this rejection at 25K, we know that that is a very important place to be and to break. I've said it many times for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. What did I say for Bitcoin? No party until we break 25K. For ETH, no party until we break 2,000. I've said it so many times for so many months, and people were throwing parties when we were at 25K. That's not the way to do it. And now that we've rolled over and we've had a correction right back into support, people are now calling it quits. So we're not here to make predictions. We're technical analysts and decoders, more importantly, and it's important that we step away from the sentiment analysis of what most people are trapped in and see this picture a little clearer, and we have data in the past to show us this. So I want to have a little bit of fun, but if you look at the breakout from May 11th, right around here, and actually, let me check a couple things out into this June 16th breakout. Boom. Now I want to show you from June 16th how much more it took for us to top out. It was about an additional, about 57, or let's just call it about 60% off of that breakout. And it was only 10 days. Okay, so let's go to this current cycle. And if we were to look at a similar structural resistance, it would be 25K, would be where we would start to measure that move of about 57 or 60%. So 57, or right here around the 60% mark, it brings you at exactly 40K Bitcoin. That's really important because that's a technical level of being within the golden pocket. And when we have automatic rallies or automatic reactions, which I've been teaching you guys about for a long time now, that's about where they tend to stall out within this golden pocket territory. Some more, some less. Some coins only make it to the 0.5 fib and then they keel over for a dead cat bounce. Some make it up to the bottom of the golden pocket and then return back for a double bottom, which looks like a huge W. Some of them overextend into the 702, even up to the top of the 786. And then that's when things get really, really overheated, and you know that you could almost fully de-risk at that move. So there's plenty of ways to analyze this. And in my exit strategy blueprint, which is available on my website, watersabove.com, you're going to see that that's kind of the scenarios that I start to break down. But specifically at this stage in the market, you want to be conservative, right? We've actually watched some projects hit their automatic rally targets. I just went over two of them in my past red pill. I think it was fetch.ai and the other one, I think it was called Stacks. Now these coins have already made it into their golden pockets, and I'm calling that the end for them. We've seen some rallies that were very dramatic, very overextended. So these things happen one stage at a time. For instance, Quant already hit its automatic rally targets in my opinion. I could show you that really quickly. I don't want to get too into these other alts, but it hit it right here in this move, boom. And we could just look at the measured, the fib, and where did the fib go? From sell-off to golden pocket, perfect at the 702. You see how even at the 702 you had these wicks and then a larger correction. So this is the type of stuff that we're watching unfold one project at a time. Some projects that happened in a very weird time frame like it did for Quant, and some are going to happen a little bit later. They could be happening this April and May, and even in 2024 we could have some automatic rallies early 2024 for isolated projects. The coins that I would start to isolate are definitely the ones that are these ISO tokens that are a little more suppressed, like XLM. If you look at its long-term chart, it never even went into price discovery in the 2021 cycle. It had a lower high from its buying climax back in 2018. So this is just stuff to keep in mind, guys. Now, anyways, let's get back to what we were sharing on Bitcoin and the similarities that we're getting now between this current price action and the price action of 2019 at these pivotal moments before we went another leg higher. So I want you guys to notice a couple things. Look at this liquidation wick that we got on May 17th. And if you compare it to this liquidation wick we got right here on April, it's that 25th, that is exactly 22 days. Could have a little bit more fun with this. If you measure from the last microcycle low retest on June 4th right here to the top of the automatic rally, it's 22 days. From the breakout on April 2nd, so let's go over here to April 2nd, which is this big green candle. It was an 18.5% gain in a single day, which it's funny that this is April 2nd because the second month in the true calendar would be April. So April 2nd is actually the 2/2 date, and it landed on a Tuesday. And if you go over 22 days, you're going to get to this date right here, which is April 24th, which was the false bull trap top before a correction. Back in this cycle of 2019, Bitcoin was so coded with this number 2022, and I took some extra time this morning preparing this video to show all of these scenarios. So anyways, let's zoom into today and check something out. If you go from this February 9th, this larger correction we got right here over 22 days, it's going to bring you to this recent correction that we had on March 3rd, which March is technically the first month, but if you look at it in the Gregorian system, it's the third month. 3/3 was your date numerology, the 33. And I think I went over that in my last video as well. So we're seeing some 22 connections, and I just want to bring it into today to see if we could come up with some more, connections to this current price action we're getting, not only structurally, but by the exact date movements. Now, from this microcycle top that we got on the 16th of February, the price of Bitcoin went to 25,262. And if we go over 22 days, that is tomorrow. All right. So consider this 22-day cycle and moving into tomorrow. I want to also show you guys something amazing here. Not only this 22 connection, but We are currently in the 10th week of the Gregorian year. You could see that right here. Tomorrow will be the 10th day. And a couple more things to show you with the Mars connection. Remember, we had that 10. This is pretty incredible how we shared the Mars connection earlier, and this number 10 keeps coming up, and tomorrow being the 10th day in this system. And I want to show you how it is the 69th day of the year. 69 is the current Bitcoin all-time high, 69,000. A couple more things to say about tomorrow. It's a 56 date numerology, and this is connected to the next lunar eclipse, which is on April 5th by 56 days. You can see the 56s matching up right there. BTC, the ticker symbol of Bitcoin, equals 56. And connected to the last day of Jubilee, I think this is pretty fun to do, which is 9/17. We're getting a 191 days, and this 191 is the 43rd prime number. We were talking about that today with Ides of March giving you that 43, but also Aries giving you that 43. And another 69 connection we just made by mistake right here is this being your 69 date numerology on the last day of Jubilee, this being 69th day of this year, connected with that 43rd prime, 43 with the 191 prime. Wow, this number 43 keeps following us. So this also keeps us up with the Mars theme. We were talking about Mars, Aries with this 43 and also 11. You could see in Chaldean for Aries, tomorrow is the 11 date numerology, and it's also a Friday, which is Freya Day, the day of Venus or Aphrodite, and Mars or Aries was her secret lover, her side piece. And also Aries in Gematria gives you 65, which is the mirror of 56, which is that connection we're making right here with this date tied to the lunar eclipse, which is 56 days. Absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm definitely having a lot of fun seeing how this 22 code and these codes of date pivots are coming into play with these master numbers, such as 11, 22, 33, etc. Now, measuring off of February 21st, the reason I'm doing that is because it was the last day of being high like a kite before rolling over into a correction. Now, if we take 22 days out from that date, it's putting you around March 15th, and that is the Ides of March, right? So very, very big connection. In the 2019 automatic rally cycle, BTC hit top 6 days before the eclipse, which you see the eclipse is right here. It was on the 2nd of July, 6 days prior, we hit that top. Now, if you were to compare it to today's price action, you're going to actually see that we have, from this day back 6 days, it's the 14th of April, the 144 date. And this means, we could be coming in a little bit earlier, but this would be a very violent pump for Bitcoin. If you were to measure the amount of gains that Bitcoin made in this moment right here, from the lows of June 4th up to the top, it was about 87% in 22 days. Let's just call it 87, 88%. If we were to take from a similar moment down here, similar move in a similar structure, that would be like putting us at around, let me show you really quickly. We have 6 days before the eclipse and then measured 22 days back from that, which brings us to the 23rd of March. And that amount of gains from the 23rd of March up 87% into the date of April 14th is $40,000 Bitcoin. The same move that I showed you before, given that Bitcoin holds the current levels. So we have two ways of showing that Bitcoin is potentially going to hit into 40K. I mean, also technically it's not weird to get to the bottom of the golden pocket. So I hope these iterations of comparison back to the prior cycle make people see a little clearer now what we're currently faced with and how quickly Bitcoin can pivot out of it. So the 23rd of March is a couple days after your new moon, 2 days after. it wouldn't be weird for us to be able to rally as we have in the past. You know, Bitcoin can do that very, very easily. I'm not saying that it will. I'm saying that it has, right? So I'm still personally open-minded to this relief rally taking until April 20th or even a little later, as late as May 5th for specific projects, because this market is much more mature now with a much higher market cap, and this means that it moves slower than prior cycles. I think that we have to be considerate of this because right now people are getting very, very bearish, and that's typically the moments where we pivot out. I'm not saying that we will 100%. There's definitely a possibility we could head lower, and that's what I want to share right now. So we're kind of teeter-tottering on a lower low close. If Bitcoin starts to close below this 21,635, I would almost anticipate a scam wick between now and March 15th, the Ides of March, as we've seen happen back here with this scam wick right there before we recovered and went another leg up, and even this bigger scam wick right here. We got sucked up and then continued higher lows and moved it up to another leg higher. These scam wicks are normal, guys, and because we've decoded this with all of these important connections between now and March 15th, it's something to consider, right? Okay, so what we're seeing structurally is happened before. It will probably continue over and over again because Bitcoin is very cyclical in nature. It doesn't really tend to deviate too far from what it's done in the past. And because it's become more mature, because the volatility is loosening and it's not as crazy as it used to be back in 2014, 2015, 2017. I think it's really time to get ready for some of the final moments before we make our next pivot. And these quarter moons have been an amazing way of determining pivot points. Not the absolute low, but just pivot points. So March 14th, March 15th is still on my radar. We have about a week away from when that happens. If we start closing below that key level I just shared, a swipe down to 20K is in the cards on a wick. Even coming down into 20K would not be the end, though. It would probably require you to start closing below 19,000, where things would get shaky. But scam wicks down to 20K, welcome at any time. Wash out high leveraged longs and reset the market completely. Also, our RSI right now is dipping closer and closer to 30 into oversold territory. This is, pretty much the time to get ready for pivot moves and scam wicks. Bitcoin likes to make a lower low before going up and rebounding. As for highs in the structure, when we could consider the continuation of the automatic rally, it would be a break above 25K. So I'll say it now, as I've said it many times, no party for Bitcoin until it breaks 25,000 to the upside. Let's get over to ETH real quick and go through the XRP chart, and then we'll wrap this video up. So ETH is looking great. It's holding support as it's been now trading in this range since January 14th. We're looking at about 54 days holding sideways. Again, no party until we break this structural high at around 2,000. And for now, holding support at 1,500 would be great. Look at how strong ETH has been holding up in comparison to a lot of the other altcoins. This is why when I develop a portfolio, I keep it Bitcoin and ETH heavy, regardless of how much ROI I could get on the alts, okay? Because that doesn't matter to me. I am a long-term conservative investor who's focused on making wins and protecting my wealth. I'm not here to be a gambler at the gambling casino. So another thing that I think is really funny about what's happening now is if you look at the Bitcoin top in the microcycle and compare it to how much we've corrected, it's 14.6%. But look at silver off of the highs that it recently had. Silver off of its 24 high to where it is now is down 19%. It is technically being more volatile than crypto. All right. I mean, I don't know what to tell people. When Bitcoin is moving into solar cycle, it is the best asset to hold. Period. End of story. It proved it in the last cycle and the cycle before that, and it's clearly proving it today. So getting to ETH is just your second sharpest play in your book. Holding this 15K level would be ideal. Closing dailies below 1,500. Closing dailies below 1,500 would be problematic, but we can see wicks down to 1,460 is not weird. We did it before, and when did we do it? Right before we rebounded up. and even made a new microcycle high. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about before, about how these coins like to liquidate longs with a scam wick, but then look at the reversal. Within 4 trading days, we hit a new microcycle high compared to this one over here. Think about that. Flush out the longs, create a bear trap, and then suck all the price back up, magnetize it up to a new high. What a way for the market maker to manipulate it, but also shake people out in regarding sentiment. So this is the way this market works. And that's why around full moons, everyone starts becoming a crybaby, but they're clearly not a wolf, because wolves follow this moon. Looking at today's price action with ETH, it is just holding sideways, nothing to complain about. This looks great. Get over to our XRP chart, and XRP has been sucking in a little bit of the excess liquidity from the other, I would say probably Bitcoin dominance and ETH dominance. So XRP is starting to lead the rally, and this is confirming, again, my automatic rally thesis, because we've seen this happen before too, where XRP leads the breakout for the entire crypto market. It's happened many times before. So if if XRP is going to continue up, get ready. I'm going to show you this last chart, and then we're going to wrap up this video. Right here, you can see this yellow trend line has been in play since April of 2021. Perfect trend line. Let me delete this, and you can see how perfect this has been. We're starting to break out of it, and I would like to see actually 44 cents. Until then, I wouldn't be too excited, but still my TA holds. 56 cents needs to be broken for XRP to have its confirmation of moving up into its automatic rally. Somewhere around $1, as high as $1.40, but $1 and $1.40 can happen in one trading day. That's how quick we could have upside wicks happen on XRP. Happens all the time. So having those limit orders set in advance is what's going to allow you to execute on that move regardless of how quick it happens. The sophisticated investor creates a plan, trades that plan, but have to have your limit orders in place. So this way, if it happens while you're sleeping, you're still all good. I like what I'm seeing with XRP, and XRP is confirming to me that we're not over yet regarding more upside to come. What would create those confirmations for me, as I said moments ago, would be a break above 44 cents. So really, we're in a horizontal trading range, building a lot of trading volume, and that's good for the long term. But as of right now, this is definitely a time to just stay calm, to really analyze what's happening in the market. Don't get overly reactive. Don't get emotional. Study this market and see how it affects you emotionally. It's really important, and take the time between now and April or May to really build a solid investment thesis. And when we start to move up again, you have to remember how you felt at moments like this, where you might have gotten down or you might have gotten a little anxious. Okay, keep a trading journal. This is very, very important stuff for you to get better at your craft and get better at this skill. And being in this market, especially at this time, is not for the light of heart. It is for people who are really conditioned to see clearly, have clarity in their vision of what's going on, and not get sucked into the nonsense and the drama and the bread and circus of all the clowns out there that are trying to get you to be emotionally reactive. Really, you need to become a better responder. And I'm going to leave the video at that with some words of wisdom. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. It was a longer video today, but I'm going to let this one simmer. I want to get through the Ides of March and see how that all goes down. That's going to be happening pretty much next Wednesday. We have some time to go between now and then. As I said, I expect a scam wick or some sort of volatile thing to happen on the world stage. It will, of course, affect the markets in crypto. So we're the ones that were aware plenty of time in advance. Now it's just time to relax and let it all come to fruition. So I appreciate every single one of you, wishing you all an amazing rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.